There's plenty of room for my outfits. And look, there's already one in here. Must be the one the doctor mentioned. I wonder why he has it in the first place. That's a nice place to store my keepsakes. Don't you go anywhere, Matilda. Huh. The window goes out directly to the main street. Could come in handy now that I can actually fly. It's been a long night. Time for a little rest.
Liza. Hey, Liza.
Who is this?
Come over to the window.
Oh, it's only you. You scared me half to death. What do you need?
I have some business from the Countess to discuss with you. Would you kindly invite me in?
The window is already open. Why the formalities?
Have you not read about this in your vampire stories? We can't come into someone else's chambers unless we are invited.
That makes sense. You don't want guests like us to drop by unannounced.
It's a real pain in the ass, if you ask me. Hunting would have been so much easier without technicalities like this. So, will you let me in or not?
Oh, that's right. Come in, please.
Nice place you got yourself over here. The good doctor must want to keep you comfortable.
The doctor has been very kind.
See, cold calculation, bargaining, even extortion, that I understand. The intentions are clear. Kindness is where I get suspicious.
I, for one, believe in people's good nature. What's even the point to live otherwise?
Believe what you must, Liza, but in my experience, people tend to disappoint much more often than not.
In any case, you're not here to discuss human character, are you?
That's very true. Let's cut to the chase. Countess would like you to run a quick errand for her, and if everything goes well, she will be very grateful.
What's the favor?
There's this young couple in town, Evgeny and Anastasia. More importantly, they are related to the new mayor, Savely Skortsov. I think Evgeny is his second nephew or whatnot. No matter. According to our sources, the mayor occasionally stores important documentation in their house. Do you see where I'm going with this?
You don't want me to rob their house, do you?
That's a rather tactless way to put it. Countess would simply like you to retrieve said documentation. Before you say anything, remember that she allowed your conversion to be completed and virtually saved you from death.
That doesn't seem like the right thing to do. Do I have any say in all this?
I really want to say yes. But sadly, that's just not the position you are in just yet.
Sounds like there isn't much choice in this favor. I guess I have no other option.
Splendid. All you need to do is to befriend Anastasia or Evgeny and get invited into their house. Then you can enter any time and get what you need without them ever finding out.
And how do I know it's them?
He's a hotshot poet, and she is one of those sensitive, artistic types. What else? Oh, they are both blondes. I always found that peculiar.
Where should I look for Evgeny?
Let's see. He is a mediocre poet who, surprise, surprise, enjoys an occasional shot of vodka. I would start your search at Arbin's Literary Salon.
What else can you tell me about Anastasia?
Not much, although I do often see her going in and out of the church.
You go to church.
Heavens, no. But the roof of it is my favorite spot in town. I'd like to smoke there on occasion.
What kind of documents am I looking for?
All I can say to you right now is that you'll know them when you'll see them.
That's not very helpful.
That will have to do.
I think I've got it from here.
Remember, just befriend one of them and get an invitation to their house. This will come in handy when you'll have to hunt, too. I'll check in a few days and see where you're at. Almost forgot. Here's a little something for incidentals.
Thank you.
Enjoy your new life. I'll see you around.
Perched upon a rotting barrow, my eyes survey the fallow field. Where once the wheat grew tall and narrow, now crops bestow a paltry yield. The bitter wind turns lakes to stillness, no saplings in the frozen earth. The farmer's wife now writhes with illness as embers die upon the hearth. See how in the forest hollow the firewood it gathers moss, while in the tavern, ripe with sorrow, the farmer drinks to his great loss. Now raise a toast to her, my brother, nature shall we never scorn. Though often a tempestuous mother, we may yet see the summer's dawn.
Bravo!
Thank you. Thank you kindly, dear friends.
I presume you are the famous Evgeny Skvortsov?
I don't know how famous I am, but I certainly am him. And whom do I owe the pleasure?
I'm Liza, the doctor's new recruit. I was looking around and came in here just in time for the poem. Is that something new?
Enchanté, Liza. The poem is actually from my old book. I'm having a bit of writer's block recently.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's nothing that a nice drink won't cure.
You know, I happen to have read your poetry book recently.
Have you? I am honored. And what did you think?
It was brilliant. Reminded me of early Byron, so passionate and brave.
Thank you. That's quite a compliment. You do know your poetry.
Don't act too surprised, please.
You're right. My apologies. I think such nice sentiment deserves a toast. Would you do a celebratory vodka shot with me?
Vodka isn't really something I drink nowadays.
You know that nobody actually likes vodka, don't you? It's designed to be terrible, to make you feel terrible. That's why it's a perfect companion for your misery. After all, isn't that why people drink in the first place?
What a compelling pitch.
Advertising is what poets are really made for, isn't it?
Still, perhaps another time.
Suit yourself, my lady. To the art of poetry, may it continue to shape minds and move the human spirit. Whew, that went down easy. Say, Liza, perhaps you've rescued me from my writer's block. I just might have a stroke of inspiration.
Delightful news, although I'm not sure I can take credit for it.
Nonsense. That's what muses always do. Inspire naturally, without even realizing it. Why don't you come back another night? You'll be my first audience and judge.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Well, you know what they say. The break is short between the first and the second shot. I'll go chat with Arben and get some more.
Good night, Evgeny. Be careful with your misery, companion.
Don't worry, Liza. He and I are good friends.
How are you doing?
This must be Anastasia. I should come up and introduce myself. Good sermon today?
More or less the same one as always. But then again, people don't usually go to the church expecting plot twists.
Well, at least it's good enough for someone to come more than once.
I suppose that's true. Forgive me. I don't believe I've seen you around here before. Are you new in town?
I arrived just a couple days ago.
Oh, in that case, let me welcome you to the town. My husband and I are relatively new here ourselves. My name is Anastasia, by the way. I teach at the quaint little music school down the road.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Liza. I work as an apprentice under the doctor. A music teacher? That must be so rewarding.
It's true. When I see a spark of passion in a student, especially a child, it does make my day 1,000 times brighter. Do you play an instrument yourself?
I used to play fiddle when I was little. Not anymore.
Ah, that's a real shame. But trust me, it's never too late to pick up an instrument again.
Thanks. I'll keep that in mind. The church choir here sounds remarkable. The tenor in particular is something else.
Doesn't it?
I must admit, I didn't expect to hear something like that in such a small town.
I couldn't agree more. You have quite an ear for music.
You sound surprised. Do I give off such a bad impression?
Oh no, it's just that I rarely meet anyone I have a lot in common with around here. Not anymore, at least. I'm sorry, it's time for me to head home. My husband is waiting. I hope. But perhaps you'd like to keep me company on the way back.
Who would refuse a stroll on such a nice summer evening?
The tenor that you so precisely placed belongs to Father Mikhail. Father Mikhail has a true gift. His voice is unbelievable. I find it very difficult to listen when he speaks, or agree with anything he says. But when he sings, I just can't help myself.
It is frustrating when you can't deny the talent in a person you don't admire.
Isn't that the truth? So, are you planning to come visit the church yourself?
Definitely. I used to love the one back in my hometown. It was much smaller than the one here, but I still remember how huge it seemed when I was younger. I miss it.
Well, that's just lovely. It will be nice to see a friendly face in there. If I'm completely honest with you, I come there mostly to listen to the choir. The lights are off.
Is something wrong?
Nothing really. My husband. I don't think he's home yet. Well, it was such a pleasure to meet you, Liza. Would you stop by my school when you have a moment? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And who knows, perhaps we can revive some of your old music skills. That never goes away, you know. Not fully.
Of course. I would like nothing more.
Splendid! We are open from Wednesdays to Saturdays.
I'll make sure to drop by. Have a good night, Anastasia.
Good night, Liza.
Dr. Volkov, may I have a word?
Come in. Welcome, Miss Morozova. Appreciate you coming over straight away. Punctuality is a highly important quality in a doctor. I trust you had a restful night, or rather day, I suppose.
I did, thank you. Never thought that sleeping in a coffin would be so comfortable.
Yes, well, we have a lot to cover, don't we? Where would you like to start?
I'd love to start with my medical duties, if you don't mind. You mentioned you might have some tasks for me?
I most certainly do. As of last month, the only other doctor in the area passed away, God rest his soul. Not that he was that much help. Human medicine has always been a step behind. But, I admit, with most of my time spent on new research, the work did start to pile up. There is some administrative and patient work I'd like you to take care of. Is this something you think you can handle?
Certainly. What should I start with?
Do you remember the woman who was here when you arrived?
Of course. Faina, isn't it?
That's right. As your first assignment, I'd like you to pay her a home visit and look over the bite spot on her neck. I've observed some curious rashes around tick bites in my time. I don't exactly know if there's a correlation, but best to make sure she's doing well. She lives in our building, so shouldn't be much trouble anyway.
Will do.
Splendid. As for the rest of the tasks, you'll find them all in the journal on my desk. Feel free to borrow my medical bag and use the lab as needed. I myself am particularly proud of my lab's blood testing instruments. I dare say they are far ahead of any mortal medical equipment. To more material matters, your allowance will be distributed gradually as you progress.
Understood. I'll get to it then.
Looking forward to tracking your progress. A doctor's work is never done. Liza,
May I ask how you were turned?
As your sire, I do owe you my story, but I have to warn you, it's a rather gruesome one. Are you sure you'd like to hear it?
After my time in the Countess's basement, I don't think much could shock me.
Well, if you must know. It was a feral that attacked me and my wife at the time, Clara. It struck our carriage one night as we were travelling through the woods coming from a party.
A feral?
A vampire that has been driven mad by their lust for blood.
I didn't realize such creatures existed outside of folklore.
They're a cautionary tale of what can happen to us if one overindulges for years on end. It all happened in the blink of an eye. As I recall, the vehicle turned over and we both tumbled to the dirt. He feasted on Clara first and bled her dry.
How horrible. I'm so sorry for your loss.
It's been some time now, so it doesn't hurt quite as much, but thank you, dear. In any case, his appetite must have somewhat subsided. Still, it wasn't enough for the beast, so he sunk his teeth into my neck. Suddenly, a blind rage overcame me, and I bit off part of his ear. Immortal being or not, I can tell you with certainty he didn't like it one bit.
I can imagine.
That must have snapped him out of his frenzy. He looked around as if just awoken, observed what he'd done, and rapidly retreated. Somehow I managed to get home by morning, but the nightmare didn't end that night.
You must have swallowed some of his blood when you bit him, and...
Precisely. You must have read about the turning ritual in human folklore. Well done. All kinds of knowledge tends to come in handy from time to time, even silly fairy tales.
So, what happened after you returned?
We'll talk more about this some other time, perhaps. There's much work we must attend to now.
Of course. Too bad I can't see my reflection in mirrors anymore. I wonder if I will one day forget my face.